Hello, everyone. This is MC Deck Discussions, and I'm Abby Small, and it's good to be back. My family had COVID, and then as they were recovering, I finally got it. So it's been a while, but I feel much better today, especially. So here's my next deck for a deck discussion called Multiple Manned and Mooned, a Wasp deck protection with 40 cards. This deck was inspired by two videos, actually. Initially, it was inspired by watching Stretch 22's awesome video that featured Ready for a Fight called Ready for a Fight Breakdown and Tier List. Highly recommend that. And then after I built my initial build of this deck, it just so happened that Winning Hand featured Multiple Man in episode 78. So I have the links to both of their videos here if you haven't seen them. Just fantastic videos. But in any case, this deck then features Multiple Man and, hence the name Multiple Manned, and then also Multiple Mooned, because Moon Girl's meant to come back in, though generally speaking, you will actually pick Nick Fury more often than Moon Girl in this particular build. Okay, but Ready for a Fight is meant to facilitate going down to alter ego form regularly so that we can use Wasp's alter ego ability. So we'd better go ahead and mention that ability right away. So first, for the start with the hero side, you can be in both tiny form or giant form. You have 11 hit points, hand size of 5. In tiny hero form, it's 1 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense. In giant hero form, it's 2 thwart, 2 attack, and 3 defense. And you have this small but mighty response when you're in the tiny hero form. After Wasp or an event you play defeats a minion or side scheme, deal 1 damage to the villain. Going to tiny hero form is a very strategic thing to do with Wasp. You want to be able to go to alter ego form a lot with her in order to use her alter ego ability, but then choosing the tiny hero form is very often the better choice. But there are also strategic reasons for choosing the giant hero form, because in giant hero form she has the ability to spread out her attacks and thwarts to multiple schemes or multiple enemies, and some of her cards that are included also allow you to do the same thing. So it's very cool, the choices there that are being made, but you really do want to go to alter ego side, in my opinion, about as much as you can afford to go. So she has this hero action, this alter ego action, called GIRL. Shuffle up to 2 cards with a printed mental resource from your discard pile into your deck. This may not seem like a powerful ability, but because there are so many extremely powerful mental resource cards, it is really a great ability. And that ability to put Moon Girl back into your deck and Nick Fury, so those are the two main allies that you would put back in. I don't generally put Multiple Man. There might be some strategic reasons here and there to put Multiple Man back into the deck, like perhaps you just use him for a resource instead of playing him, and then you go, oh, let's just put him back in the deck. But otherwise, you're really shooting for Nick Fury the most often, and then also the Genius card. So those 2 cards are the main ones that you're initially putting in. And then the purpose of Multiple Man actually is to help you with setup. So Multiple Man allows you to get your supports in and your upgrades in, and to really make Wasp a powerhouse. Okay, so let's go ahead and just mention the other allies that are in here as well. So we have Grant Ward in here. So great card for Wasp, because Wasp wants to have lots of mental resource cards. So you can easily you can get Grant Ward out there to get your 2 attack and 2 thwart in. Grant Ward cannot defend, but being able to get that easy thwart and attack in for free, and then maybe costing you a mental resource here and there, but that's very easy to afford because you have so many cards with mental resources, and also you have Quinn Carrier and Ingenuity in this deck to also provide those mental resources. So Grant Ward is very easy inclusion in this deck. Okay, and then I already mentioned Moon Girl, that's for the card draw, but specifically you want to use Moon Girl when you're in alter ego side, and the reason you don't want to recycle her back into your deck all the time necessarily is because this is a Ready for a Fight deck, and you're going to be flipping to hero side, and so Moon Girl is not always the best choice. But we do have Professor X in here in order to confuse the villain, and when that's the case, then Moon Girl ends up being a a relatively wise choice to put back into your deck using Wasp's alter ego ability. Okay? And like I said, with multiple man, so multiple man is great for setup because of all the defense. It also allows you, you have a lot of flexibility when multiple man first comes out, being able to do up to 3 thwart or 3 attack or any combination thereof, and then plus some and then 3 defenses. Those 3 defenses are what allow you to really have that time to utilize your resources in this deck and get Avengers Mansion out, Quinn Carrier, Sinclair, Dr. Sinclair out, Wasp's Helmet. So all of these are fantastic cards, and then there are even a couple of other still effective upgrades too. So, I do highly recommend multiple man. I'm glad I decided to try it because that's where I found the effectiveness. I wasn't usually looking to put multiple man back into the deck, except here and there could be strategic reasons to do so. But his ability to help you to set up your kit allowed Wasp to get to a dominant state. And then Nick Fury with the card draw as well, and Moon Girl, and then Nick Fury Sr. possibly removing 3 threat, but possibly getting some card draw as well. And then Vivian being able to go in there and blank out, a non-elite minion or a non-permanent side scheme at times, sometimes an attachment. So being able to do that periodically could be highly effective as well, against when you're facing the right particular villains and counter card. Face the Past also, to me, a mandatory inclusion. Of course, you don't have to, but her Wasp Nemesis minion is particularly nice to defeat. Only has 1 attack and 1 thwart, so even if you don't defeat her right away and you need to take care of other things first, it's worth it for that, readying your hero and getting the 3 card draw. But then when you defeat her Nemesis minion, the Nemesis minion, unless you pay with a physical resource, it goes back into the encounter deck. And it's a relatively wimpy card to have come back out. So I actually I never pay that physical resource. I always let it go back into the deck because it tends to be an easier minion to get rid of and an easier thing to deal with than a lot of the other more powerful encounter cards. So I like to let that go back in. I think Face the Past is a great choice in Wasp decks. For the player side schemes, we have Build Support, which will help to get Quinn Carrier out. If Quinn Carrier is already out, it can help to get Dr. Sinclair out into play. And then Superpower Training is meant to get Wasp Helmet out, but if that's already out, like I said, Red Room Training and Biosynthetic Wings definitely still have their benefits, so they're good cards too. For the resources, we have the 3 doubles. I already mentioned Genius, but we have the other 2 as well. Pim Particles comes in the kit in Wasp deck. And then the 2 copies of Power in All of Us to help facilitate all of these basic cards, including Avengers Mansion. And the one cool thing about Dr. Sinclair is we have in this upgrade, we have downtime as well, which increases the recovery to 2. And so Dr. Sinclair can, when downtime's in, Wasp has 3 recovery, if you look at her alter ego side there. So increasing that by 2 more, then Dr. Sinclair can heal you for 5. And it's easy for me to remember, you do have to spend a mental resource, but that's super easy in this deck. But also you don't only heal damage, you get to discard a status card from your identity. I actually sometimes forget about that one, but be sure to keep that in mind. Okay? And then for the rest of the upgrades, we have Ingenuity as well, which again helps with mental resources. And then, like I mentioned before, Ready for a Fight, key card in here that allows you to safely go down. Protection can be kind of frustrating for a Wasp, because Wasp wants to go to alter ego, and Ready for a Fight finally allows that to happen. And it was, the big reason why I wanted to revisit Protection with Wasp is I wanted to see how it worked with Ready for a Fight. Okay? So the results were excellent, except for against Ronan the Accuser. Ronan the Accuser was really tough. The deck wasn't really built for Ronan the Accuser. I just hadn't played against Ronan in a really long time, basically since the beginning of the game. And I was playing through the Galaxy's Most Wanted, villains, and decided, hey, why don't I just see how it does against Ronan? So it took a couple of tries to beat Ronan on Standard, and I tried, quite a few times on Expert, never able to beat him. Came close once, but never able to beat him on Expert. So it's not really designed for Ronan the Accuser. However, really good against the other villains, right? So the villain test I tested against in Standard and Expert or Claw. Again, Claw has my Expert house rule. You can always, I'll go down here, so you can always pause if you want to see what my Expert house rule is, or you can look in the deck for that. But it keeps Claw more challenging in Expert, consistently challenging in Expert. And that's part of my purpose, is to really test the deck. And so so that's why I include that house rule. And then there was Ebony Maw. I already mentioned Ronan the Accuser, but Magneto, great deck against Magneto, both in Standard and Expert. I just love the ability to set things up, and it was all facilitated really well with Ready for a Fight and Multiple Man. And of course, with all the card draw that's included too. Okay, so that should be it. Anything else? Oh, for Ready for a Fight, so my priorities, I already mentioned them. Anything else? Oh yeah, periodically you might, Dr. Sinclair could be a priority too, to put back in the deck. And Professor X. So some people might wonder, why do I have Professor X in here if I already have Ready for a Fight? Professor X, with that Confuse, I think I did mention this already, but I just want to re-emphasize this. If they can allow you to stay in alter ego side, and then that allows you to play Moon Girl more regularly. So in this deck, I don't mean for Ready for a Fight to be used all the time. I do like to get Professor X, but Ready for a Fight allows me not to have to use Professor X every moment that I have, and I can make otherwise choices. Your ultimate goal, once you get your kit set up, is to get Nick Fury back into the deck, as well as, Genius, but to eventually get your Pinpoint Strikes back into the deck regularly to be able to use on hero form, and even your even Wasp Sting also has a nice attack to it too. Pinpoint Strike is awesome to use when you have minions out and you're in tiny hero form, because then it's 3 cost for not 7 damage, but 8 damage. You get an extra damage, and you get overkill. So it's really awesome being able to use that regularly. And so that's ultimately the goal. You want to be able to just be pounding away at the villain with your attacks. And so once you get your kit set up, and you can keep getting Nick Fury back into the deck, but the purpose is to get those Pinpoint Strikes and sometimes Wasp Stings and be able to do tons of damage to the villain. Okay? And you take care of the minions at the same time. Okay, that's it for today's deck. I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you in the next video. Oh, there are going to be two other videos coming out. So even though, like I said, it wasn't built for Ronan the Accuser, but I wanted to feature a different villain. So I have 2 videos coming out. I'll have one coming out against Standard Ronan the Accuser, and one coming out against Expert Ronan the Accuser. All right, and be sure to check out those other videos from Stretch 22 and Winning Hand. All right, have a great one, everybody.